Welcome to our show, Steve Coyle, Vegan and Elephant Care Unchained, promoting elephant people welfare globally, part 1 of 2. Steve Coyle, Vegan, is the founder and CEO of the US-based nonprofit Elephant Care Unchained and has spent 24 years working closely with elephant people to improve their lives. Traveling around the world, he promotes responsible treatment of them and advocates for their welfare, earning widespread respect for his expertise and dedication. Mr. Coyle now shares what inspired him to start Elephant Care Unchained.
So I have a Bachelor's of Science in Zoology from Michigan State University, and then have vast experience with numerous animals, everything from lions, tigers, and bears. I was training dogs prior to starting my career with elephants. And I worked at the Phoenix Zoo here for 14 and a half years, caring for elephants. And in the past 9 years, I've established my nonprofit where I travel the world helping elephants. I was at the zoo for about 10 years at the time. And then I took my first trip to India way back in 2013. And I was helping an organization there with their elephants. And, growing up and seeing things on TV, we have this fantasy about elephants, and these guys love the elephants, and they're cared for, and they're revered, and all of these things. But then you go there and you actually see it, and you realize that the elephants aren't treated very nicely. The elephants are what we could say abused in many circumstances, in many places. And so I really started to think, and even though I felt bad for the elephants at my zoo, because elephants need space, they need room, they need other elephants, that evolved into me seeing how horrible it was in their native countries for the most part. And so my perspective changed. I've seen elephants, chained on 4 legs and in cages and all kinds of, terrible things that happen to them. And so that inspired me to kind of want to do more over there.
Mr. Coyle explains why elephant people are extraordinary and how, as a keystone species, they are essential to maintaining healthy ecosystems. He also emphasizes the importance of ensuring their well-being and protection.
Elephants are the greatest thing on the planet. They really are. To spend time with them, you can feel it. At least most people, when they spend adequate time with them, observing them, seeing them, there's something about them that is magnificent. If humans were better beings, they'd be elephants. Wild elephants support the environment that they're in by uprooting trees, digging holes. Other animals use water, use the trees that they knock down, all kinds of things. And if we don't do anything, it's for elephants in captivity. These elephants develop all kinds of problems, ailments, stiff legs, stiff joints, abscessed feet, which I've seen. They develop a foot abscess over many years of being in an improper environment. And so they basically die a slow, painful death because of the damage that was already done to them. All these things happen to these elephants if we're not being proactive in our care for them.
Mr. Coyle describes the suffering many elephant individuals endure and highlights the need for compassion, awareness, and improved care to protect them.
You can't even imagine that you're living in this planet. Regardless of the country, I've seen some terrible, terrible things with elephants. Bleeding, chained up, foot abscesses, neglect, and people just aren't aware. It ultimately comes down to teaching compassion. How do you teach compassion? And that's the legitimate question that I'm asking. How do you make people care? Like when I go see a place and you see an elephant, and I'm there 5 minutes, and I already care more about this elephant than the people do that have been with him for 20, 30 years. How do you change that perspective? That's the challenge, yeah.
Mr. Coyle explains how cultural traditions and religious customs in some nations affect elephant person welfare, and why changing human behavior is essential to ending abuse and neglect.
There's the cultural aspect. Culturally, they've used that as an excuse to abuse animals, in this particular case, elephants. To abuse them because they have to be here. It's our culture. This is how we do it. We don't care what you say. Then there's another aspect to that is the religious aspect. And whether you have Buddhist temples in Sri Lanka or Hindu temples in India, they have elephants there. And just so I can worship this elephant, my 5-second blessing is a lifetime of misery for this elephant. Natives also love to ride elephants. Natives like to do these things because culturally that's what they do. They don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. So that has to change. And that's education. It's different things that we have to do to help promote elephant welfare, animal welfare for that matter. These elephants live a long, painful, sad life. They basically die a slow, painful life in many cases. When you see an elephant that's bleeding, that has a foot problem, that has some sort of debilitated injury because of the environment that they're kept in, that has to be addressed. Thailand breeds a lot of elephants to promote their tourism stuff, right? So we probably shouldn't be breeding elephants in captivity, frankly, because there's a lot of elephants out there that don't have good lives, a lot, more than do. And so in the wild is, like all animals, like everything in this world, is shrinking. And so that's a whole other aspect. You know, there are a few places that are releasing elephants, like soft releases into protected areas, but those protected areas are slowly shrinking as well. You know, and so it's a very difficult thing. My approach is, whatever this is for the elephant, let's make this better. And then we grow from there.
Education and awareness can help communities see the negative impacts on elephant folk from certain traditions and encourage change.
Ultimately, change has to come from the natives in any country. If I think elephant riding is bad, but the natives love to ride elephants, they have to change that. You know, they have the religious things. They have the Paraharas in Sri Lanka. They've got the temples in India and Sri Lanka. So until the devotees stop supporting temples that are abusing elephants, things will never change. People love to see the elephant shows. The elephant's not trained to pick up its foot to be cared for, but it does a show. And people love that. But until the natives start to think about changing, think about something more compassionate, it's really a difficult fight. You see things starting to change, but as a whole, we need to do a lot better.
Mr. Coyle says elephant persons used in the context of tourism require tourists to stop and rethink how their actions affect the health and safety of elephant folk.
So many times they're using elephants to make money, particularly in tourism. And so people go there, they pay their $20 and they ride an elephant. You can go there and pay your $20, but you can say, you know what, can we just sit and watch the elephant? Can I just walk with the elephant? If we change this demand, then the owners and facilities will follow suit. If you stop doing these things, there's no reason for them to keep doing it because it's about their bottom line, right? There's a few places that are doing wonderful work. And I love to support them, and I love to help them out. But on the flip side, I'm more inspired to go help the places that don't want me, help the places that need a lot of help, but don't want help. And so when I apply certain things, the elephants always come through. You give the elephants a pile of dirt, they're going to lay on it, they're going to dust, they're going to do what they're going to do. You hang their food up, they're going to reach and get their food. You give them an environment to walk around and do elephant things, they're going to do what they're supposed to do. That's amazing. Convincing the people that that's what elephants should be doing, that's the hard part. So how do you convince them, change their perspective on an elephant who's a living being with wants, needs, and desires?
Changing long-held practices is not easy. Here, Mr. Coyle explains how he approaches sensitive conversations with caregivers using respect, visual examples, and practical tools to encourage better outcomes for elephant folk.
Good, honey. I try to address that through using different examples of elephants in different places, if that makes sense. And so my credentials allows me to kind of share. I walk around with a little tablet and I say, what about this? How about this? So I show pictures. I had a booklet made that I hand out all over. for different places. And so that's the hard part, is you don't want to insult people, you want to be respectful, but you also have to help these elephants.
During the COVID years, communication barriers made this work even more challenging. Mr. Coyle explains how using visual guidebooks helps bridge language and cultural gaps.
So a few years ago, traveling around, actually the second year of COVID, we would visit places, but it's hard to kind of communicate what you're trying to portray, what you're talking about. And so I came up with the idea of developing a booklet. It's a basic guide to improving elephant welfare. This one was made for Sri Lanka, in the Sri Lankan language. And then I've got 3 other books in 3 different Indian language that we pass out. And just kind of a simple thing. It's just examples. So instead of reading it, trying to understand what it says, and again, it's very basic. You see these pictures, and it'll explain kind of what's going on, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. These are examples of what are good or bad, right? And so it became very helpful, and I handed out 200 of these books in Sri Lanka alone, both for the mahouts, the monks, anybody who would take it. And so they're able to look at it and say, oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. So yeah, you hope that you planted this seed, and you hope that they did at least one thing in this book. And I probably handed out about 1,000 of these books in the last few years. This was the first one. This was done in 2021, and then we've done more lately. And so it's just a great tool to have. It's really good quality, and so that's the best thing that we can do is to share the information that we have, and hopefully people embrace that. Foot care is kind of what I'm known for, taking care of elephants' feet. And so I'll get calls, or I'll have to go visit and help elephants. And there's a few elephants out there that I know are still alive to this day because of the work we did to help their feet. Had we not come, these elephants would be dead 100%. That makes me feel good. Knowing that regardless of what happens when I leave, or how, if I'm there for an hour, I know for that hour, that elephant is treated with some compassion. It's treated kindly. It's not getting hit. It's getting some food. It's getting some praise. You try to follow up and make sure that that's still being maintained. But changing the culture, changing the philosophies is difficult. But what I know is that wherever I am at that moment, that elephant's life is better.
Mr. Coyle reflects on the values that guide his work and the mindset he brings when directly engaging with communities and the elephant individuals under their care. His work often involves meeting immediate needs.
I'm going to the places that they're not getting this information. Why, I don't know. Or maybe they don't care. But I'm also willing and able to go somewhere and say, let me help. You don't have to pay me. Can I just help your elephant? My true intention is to do that. And the things that I implement are things that benefit the elephant as well as the people that care for them. The mahouts, we will say. So that is kind of my approach. The elephants need a chance, and I'm trying to give them a chance. It's about whoever I have to talk to, whatever I have to do. Do I have to buy some sand for the elephants? Do I have to buy some enrichment feeders for the elephants? Do I have to provide some money or give some money to the mahouts, the guys that care for them? Do I have to buy the mahouts some food? Do I have to do all these things? It's just about my intention of helping. So helping the elephants, helping the people that care for them, and then helping them understand why it's important, everybody wins.
At the heart of Mr. Coyle's approach is a simple principle: start with the elephant. When elephant individuals are given environments that support natural behaviors, their well-being follows.
What kind of substrate should they be on? How do they eat? What do they do during their day? Let's promote these elephant behaviors. Put the elephant in an environment and they'll take care of the rest.
Looking ahead, Mr. Coyle shares his plans for upcoming projects and continued collaboration in Southeast Asia.
I'm working on a few different projects. I plan on traveling out again with a couple of different organizations in Indonesia and in Vietnam. The more we do, the more attention we get, and our work speaks for itself.
Mr. Coyle offers a message about what it truly means to care for our elephant friends.
I think the message is going to be to change the demand. You know, everybody loves elephants. Everybody wants to be a part of their lives. Everybody wants to give them love. But we have to step back and allow elephants to simply be. That's the best thing that we can do for elephants. You know, you support the organizations that are doing legitimate things. That's what's important. Giving elephants a chance is what it's all about. It's not about us. It's about the elephants that we're trying to care for.
Thank you, Mr. Coyle, for always putting animal people first and prioritizing their well-being worldwide. The animal citizens appreciate your tender love and care. May your noble work and compassion spread to every corner of the world and inspire others. For more information about Steve Coyle, Vegan, and Elephant Care Unchained, please visit elephantcareunchained.com, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Elephant Care Unchained.